Jesus. Okay, just in case, because apparently it's like rampant in America, these people with narcissistic personality disorder. I don't know why. Okay, so, um, okay, the first thing is when you recognize that person has narcissistic personality disorder and you can't spot them out, it's not that hard. They're always a headache. Regardless of what is going on, what they're doing, it's just like you're always like this. You're just like, oh my god. They're either disgust to be around, they're embarrassing, they have no lack of self, like they have complete lack of self-awareness, no shame, no guilt associated with their behavior, and they can't empathize. So they always assume that what you're feeling is due to like how you feel, not based on how they're responding. Okay, so this is okay, if you know that person has narcissistic personality disorder, first thing is to get them to a hospital. You need to get them to see a psychiatrist regardless of what it is that they're trying to say. They're not going through anything or whatever. They use every technique that's detrimental to make themselves look like they're not doing very well. They don't have any. They have little to low social skills and little to low understanding of themselves and others, and they have the wrong idea about what people are like. So they don't really know what it's like to be a human being exactly. Like typically, I've noticed people from narcissistic personality disorder groups, like they're from very low income to like they're usually trailer trash, or like they live in the ghetto. They manage to get a job that's like that can help them get out of that place, and they start thinking that they own the world. It's kind of like if you met somebody with a bipolar disorder and they're going through that manic phase, that's what that's like. They have like expectations that they need to be treated like they are the most important person in the entire world. They do exploit others for superficial reasons, as in this doesn't work the way they think. So their reasoning, their motivation is to get superficial things, so like more friends or more money or whatever. The thing is, these like things that they are trying to achieve, it has really nothing to do with like the stuff that they're doing, so it's not something that they deserve, and they will exploit other people to get those things, even though they're not trying to exploit other people, right? Like they're not really trying to like put people down or take advantage of others or anything like that. That's not what they're trying to do, but that's what they're doing. They don't know this, and they think it's okay to do those things because they think they deserve those things. So it's like, oh, I deserve to have the same authority as my boss because I work there and that's what I deserve. And you know what? My boss is just a person. Like, I'm a person too, so like, whatever he or she does, I can also do. That's NPD. They only want to be associated with people that they consider to be high status, or that other people consider to be high status. That's the only association that they want to be with. There's been a theory that they have very little self-esteem, or very little like they're very insecure. Some of them are, but actually that's not a really good way to tell if somebody has a narcissistic personality disorder, because there are people with this disorder who really like themselves and who have a good sense of who they like. Their self-esteem isn't that like weak. So they're preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. They monopolize conversations or belittle or look down on people they perceive as inferior, which becomes everyone the minute they recognize that they're not as important or as good as that person. So when the person with NPD meets somebody and they realize that this person's better at them at something, and it's obvious, that's when they start doing the whole bullying thing. They want people to admire them consistently and continually. They can't empathize, so they don't know the needs or the feelings of others, which is very integral in success, which is something that they are so desiring, except they don't know how to go and achieve those things. There's a lot of misinformation online about people with NPD being very charming and superficial and all that kind of stuff. It's not. I'm sorry if you feel that way or you think that they're charming and superficial. They're not. They're very creepy and they're very inappropriate and downright embarrassing to be around. But to the person with NPD, sometimes it's just angry. I mean, they cause a lot of people to feel angry and frustrated. Typically, people who rely on them or are their family or friends. So they believe that they deserve the best of everything, and they will do anything in their power they can to get those things. Right? Like, you can't afford that, but like you deserve it or something. I mean, this thing I've noticed is that they always blame other people for the way they think and feel. So they're like, that's how they're advertising it, or like that's what other people are going by. Like, how else would people make money if they didn't do those things? And they don't seem to be aware of the fact that people legitimately do the right thing, find a decent job, and find a way. Like, it's not easy. That's the thing. Everyone with NPD thinks everyone has it easy, and they just found a way to get it that way, the same way they're trying to get those things, right? The preoccupation with fantasies about success and power, brilliance, beauty, or perfect fate. Like, if anyone's seen the movie Precious, when she starts imagining herself being incredibly like like a superstar, hot, popular, and everybody loves her, and just paparazzi taking pictures of her everywhere, that kind of stuff. That right there is called narcissistic personality disorder. They're very parasitic. So they don't know that they're leeching off everyone else to make themselves appear that way, but it's not convincing, it's very weak, and the minute that you mention it, again, they get into this weird state where they will start belittling or like doing things to try to convince everyone that they're not actually like that. Because they're more preoccupied with like getting other people to perceive them a certain way instead of actually being that thing. So like they want people to see them as a very athletic person without actually being athletic. That kind of stuff. Apparently they get impatient or angry when they don't receive special treatment. They have significant interpersonal problems and easily feel slighted. So that means that they have a hard time maintaining and getting into relationships. They lose a lot of relationships very quickly, and they get offended very easily. They have difficulty regulating emotions and behavior. Again, that ties into the fact that they have a hard time understanding that the lack of empathy and not being able to recognize the needs and feelings of others. That ties into why they can't regulate their emotions and their behavior. They feel depressed and moody because they feel like they fall short of perfection. Like, again, when somebody wants to work out and have a really good body and they spend all that time and money going to the gym and eating the right foods and all that kind of stuff, like taking classes and buying those nutrition books and all that kind of stuff, right? They don't do any of that. But like, they like to copy people who are like that, or they want people to like teach them the short tricks or shortcuts without actually doing anything. They have secret feelings of insecurity, shame, vulnerability, and humiliation. Yet that's because of the fact that they're socially rejected every single encounter. People don't like them, people want them to go away, people don't want to be near them, and that leads to them feeling insecure or ashamed or humiliated. Most of the time they become humiliated quite easily. And The reason is, well, there's so many problems with this person. You know, they can't recognize other people are people. They have their own needs and feelings and wants, and everything that they're going for is so superficial and vain that even if people who have those things, they don't really care about that. Right? It's like nobody's going to the gym to have a good body. They're going to the gym to make sure that they're healthy or to improve a skill. Right? The ones working so they can have certain amount of money in their bank account, they're working because they actually like their job. They believe in their career. They believe that they like, or they need it, right? It's like if you need a job and if you need the money, that means you're not making that much money, right? They're not showing up thinking like, yeah, as long as I save up enough money, everything will be fine, right? Like that's kind of narcissistic. They like to exaggerate with achievements and talents. Again, like they like to be associated with people that they believe are superior or is superior than them, and they want to tell everyone what a great person that is. And they like to exaggerate, like they're saying like, oh, I helped this person out when they didn't do any of that kind of stuff, right? Like their way of talking to people is condescending, it's embarrassing, and it's very guilt-ridden, and they can't recognize that that's how they're speaking because that's what they're doing, right? Like, how do you know if somebody is... Oh, they believe that people are envious or jealous of them all the time when nobody really likes them. They think that dislike is of somebody who's always jealous of them. Like, you know, when people don't like somebody, they're like, it's because you're jealous of me, that's why. Like, I'm better than you, and that's why you don't like me. It has nothing to do with the fact that I always insult you, or that I always borrow money from you, or the fact that I've been, like, saying a lot of rude things to you, because I don't feel secure about myself and my social status when I'm near you, which makes me the jealous one, but it's you that's the jealous one. That's why you don't like me. Oh, that one has narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah, that's what that is. Oh my god. That's what they're like. Again, please don't dismiss their intelligence or their experience, because these mental illnesses have nothing to do with a person's intelligence level apart from PDD, pervasive developmental disorder. And apart from the fact that some of them, because if they've been diagnosed with it for a very long time, obviously it's going to affect their progress in life, and that may affect their intelligence. Your brain is an organ like any other organ, and if you don't work it out, then it's not going to be as tip-top shape as the other parts of the body. Is it heritable disorder? A little bit. There is a heritability link to NPD. Likewise with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. But that's really not... I mean, the way they describe it on these, like, I'm gonna just take Wikipedia for an example. Like, they look... feels privileged and empowered with virtue, special childhood status, and pseudo achievements. The title facade bears little relation to reality. That's actually very true. Okay, so everything that they think and view things is not realistic. They do go through periods of psychosis. Psychosis being delusional beliefs and hallucinations. Seeks favored and good life, is upwardly mobile, cultivates special status, advantaged by association. That doesn't happen. They attempt to. Their attempts and their motivations behind the things that they're doing is to gain that special status and advantages by association. And they may even take advantage of some weak or little to no association by lying to other people about it, but they know other people know that it's a lie. That's the thing, they can't recognize that other people can tell that they're just lying and they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. But to that person with narcissistic personality disorder, they think it's working. The thing is, I just wanted to point out, the core of any successful person is empathy, a willingness to work with others, and being able to recognize or maintain this effort of self-care. So it's kind of like they're responsible, they're empathetic, and they're considerate. Those are the core traits of a very successful person, no matter what it is that they're successful in. And successful people don't define success within the measures of very superficial things, as in how much money do I have, how many people who are important do I know, how many people like me, how many people are following me on social media, how much like employees do I have. I mean, those things are important to people because it matters to their work, right? But other than that, like that's not what they're like looking at when they're trying to measure their amount of success. So that's kind of why a lot of them, they don't understand this, okay? A lot of the motivations behind narcissistic personality disorder is to gain this idea of success. And this idea of success includes beauty and perfect mates and people who are just as special and great as they are. Not being able to recognize that, like you don't have to be a certain type of person to be friends with that person. If that makes sense. Like you can't just, I think other people call it megalomania when you have like this obsession with power and being an authority. Like look, people, regardless of whatever background you're from, they won't stop being friends with you and stop hanging out with you because of the money you make or the people that you know. Some of those things are concerning and it does affect that person's work life, right? Which is why people are more choosy in their employees and the hiring, because it has a lot to do with their finances and that actually affects a lot of people. But outside of that, in a personal setting, they don't care about how many friends you have, the people you talk to, people you know. Right? I mean, that gets to be very narcissistic and very parasitic. I don't know what's a good example of a person who has narcissistic personality disorder. The police in Toronto, at least, all of them, every single one of them has narcissistic personality disorder. There was this foster kid, like I was a foster kid, one of the kids that was the foster family's kid, that one had narcissistic personality disorder. He would fly into a fit of rage, always lie about things. It made it seem very natural, but it wasn't. Everything she did was to gain approval or acceptance from peers that she believed was worth her time, who actually had nothing in common with her. And she would just ignore and dismiss anybody who she either felt jealous of but was convinced they were jealous of her, or who she felt like wasn't good enough to be her friend, who was actually somebody she had a lot in common with. Right? So that she's like actively making her life harder and making sure that she's not going very far in life, and they think the opposite is happening. That's narcissistic personality disorder. Jenna Marble is a famous YouTuber. She has narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of people take advantage of people with narcissistic personality disorder. Next thing you know, their bank account's drained. They're the one responsible for all these scams, and they're the ones who are getting the brunt of the abuse when they finally realize and they're treated for their narcissistic personality disorder to the extent what they were involved in. How do they take advantage of them? Because they like hearing specific things only, and people know that, so they just do that to them and they get them to do whatever they want. They're like drones or robots, so they just listen to whatever they say, right? And it's unhealthy, it's not okay, but again, you're not supposed to take advantage of people like that. A lot of people do, okay? It's easy, it's quick, and it's potentially free. Like I said, people who do that are typically criminals or have narcissistic personality disorder or really shitty people. Okay, you're just an awful person for doing that. You know there's something wrong with that person, and you might even get into trouble yourself, but you don't care. That's not alright. I'm hungry, but I can't like buy anything to eat, which is just annoying. Yeah, how do you know, immediate giveaway, the dead giveaway is when let's say I am talking to the foster family's kid. She would be like, the minute that she realizes that I'm actually skilled in something, she would start like talking nonsense to me, but it's her intentions to hurt my feelings. She'd be like, your eyebrows are ugly, you're ugly, and you're really fat, and like no one really likes you, and I know you're jealous of me. That would be coming out of the blue, but it was because of the fact that she realized I was better than her at something. She always does that every single time I was better than her at something. And then she would try to convince me that I'm stupid and I'm a loser, and she would go around to a bunch of different people and talk shit about me. Right? She just lie about me all the time to people that's never met me and make up all these stories about how I'm just such a horrible person and I'm abusive and I lie about people all the time, which is what she does. That's people with narcissistic personality disorder. Don't believe them. You know there's something off about what they're saying. But that's why they're doing those things, is because they don't know that that's what they're doing. Get them into treatment, please, ASAP. They need to be on antipsychotics or antidepressants or something. The doctor needs to assess them before they get into legal problems. Look, it's gonna be a pain in the ass for everyone involved, but like, if you can't get that person into treatment, then I don't know what else to say. You can always just leave them and be like, I don't want anything to do with you, leave me alone. But they're gonna take that as, they're not really gonna understand why they're being rejected. Because to them, you're worse than they are, you're inferior, right? So they're like, why are you probably only saying that because I'm better than you. So that's how they're gonna take it. You know that I'm better than you, which is why you don't like me. You better not like me. That kind of stuff. Like, that's narcissistic personality disorder. They never apologize because they can't recognize what they're doing is not okay. They never like pay people back because, again, they think they're entitled to those things while they're sick. Okay, they think that they need those things, they're entitled to those things, etc., what have you. What is like the cure for narcissistic personality disorder? You can literally yell at them and put them in their place. That usually does a trick. And you're like, you're not that important. Actually, I'm doing better than you. I'm better looking than you. I'm more skilled than you. And you're saying that because you're jealous of me. And I get that you're not doing well, which is why you feel insecure, which is why you're projecting, and you feel like your entire life worth, who you are as a person, and your worth to society is tied into what you think is success and what you think other people value. But I don't believe that's true, and you need to understand that you're not doing something right, and I actually don't like you. It doesn't matter if they believe you or not. If you say that, they'll back off of you. That's just what that is. Somebody was nice enough to call the police and force me here. I still have a huge headache from the fucking flu that I have. At least I was able to use a fucking bathroom. I gotta go pick up some packages I ordered off of Amazon, and apparently I'm supposed to call the police at one point because they stole my stuff. I just sent them an email. Hopefully that's fine. Again, nothing that they are going for or trying to achieve has anything to do with their own personal wants or needs. That's the thing. They're like a slave to what other people perceive as success or beauty, or what they think other people value. Right? Like, it's not, like, this is why it's called an illness. It's not helping them, it's not helping other people. Right? So, okay, again, like, the person who suffers from this, they don't care about those things, but they're going after it anyway because the other people care about it, and they think if they have those things, other people are going to like them and want them too. And it's because of the fact that they're ill, coupled with the fact that typically they're from poverty-stricken households and they've been discriminated against and face continual rejection from their peers, that it starts impacting their perceptions, and they start thinking nothing's ever going to change, nothing's ever going to get better, and they start thinking if they had those things other people have, people will like them, they'll include them, they'll have friends, and things will be better. But they aren't able to recognize that their things aren't actually that bad for them right there and then. That's the thing, they don't need those things, everything's fine for them. They don't really need to like go and do those things. right? Like they usually have their house, they have food to eat, they don't have to worry about too much about finances. People don't consider them to be. I mean, the only reason people may not like them is because of what they've actually done, and people make assumptions based on their demographics. But in reality, they don't really care about that kind of stuff. But again, when somebody feels like continually like that nobody cares about them and they're being continually rejected and all that kind of stuff, it starts impacting their ability to relate to other people, because they start thinking everyone's gonna treat them that way. It's stupid and it's really dumb. Again, with the low education background and the fact that they're from poverty-stricken households, they didn't have a lot of experiences to bank on, right? They're like, oh, I don't know if everyone's gonna be like this. I know one person that wasn't like that. They're okay. La la la, blah la la la, that kind of stuff. Is it okay for them to behave that way anyway? Absolutely not. Um, like honestly, some people actually feel sorry for them. Like they feel bad for what that person's like. They feel bad for what that person has gone through, and they really do feel for them. Again, they take advantage of people like that because then they think like, oh yeah, like you're my servant now, like blah blah blah. And it gets really annoying after, so you can't even do much. But that person needs to be in treatment. Just take them to see a psychiatrist, like, get an assessment. The way they it's like honestly, you can see it from like just the way they talk and describe their life. You can see it, like that person has narcissistic personality disorder and it's hurting them, not anyone else. It's just hurting that person. Like it gets annoying, you gotta put up with all that kind of bullshit, but like again, the reason why most of the time is because they haven't really been able to understand that people don't care about that kind of stuff. Like no one's gonna be friends with somebody. Those are called thieves. People who care about that kind of stuff are called thieves. They care about what other people have because they will find a way. They're trying to look for a way for them to get that thing off of that person. That's a thief. Okay, thieves, criminals, they care about that kind of stuff because they want a reason for that person to like get it for themselves. That's really it. They're not actually criminals or mentally ill. They don't really know what that they're doing is wrong or anything because they're sick, right? They're very, very sick people. They're mentally ill. They don't really know what's going on and why people don't like them. And they can't recognize that it's because they can't relate to other people. They can't recognize that other people's feelings or wants, take into account how the relationship is going, nothing like that. And they only care about those superficial things for their own personal gain, which is, I just want those things so other people will want me and want to be friends with me or willing to be friends with me. That's why they care, right? That's narcissistic. Whereas criminals, they just don't care. I mean, typically there is a reason as to why they're going after that thing they're going after, and it has nothing to do with their needs or wants. But that's the difference. Don't assume that they're criminals. Like, criminals will get away with a lot of things. In movies, they always get caught and all the bad guys, blah 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 blah. No, come on, let's not be naive. Yeah, in movies, people get caught and bad guys go to jail and the good guys win all the time and everything's happy ending. That's a movie. Also, with the preoccupation of the idea of a perfect mate, they mean that, like, this guy, like, if I had narcissistic personality disorder, I'd be like, oh, my boyfriend has to be, like, has to make 6 figures a year, and he has to treat me a certain way, and he has to be really good looking, and he needs to know all the right people, and he needs to love me only, and never have any friends, and he's just this robot that I created in my mind. This Sunday only, there will be no that guy has to be my mate or something, and they just continually reject everyone who even comes near them because they're like, they don't measure up to their idea of who they're supposed to be, right? They're like, you're supposed to be this person. I don't want you to be near me if you're not this person that I have this idea, fantasy of you in my head, right? And it's kind of like, okay, you like, honestly, it's like kind of like I don't know, this guy, he's overweight and he's never had a girlfriend before and he has like 3 friends, and I don't know, he's kind of a dick to everyone, right? And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm gonna marry like the perfect model, and she's gonna be really smart and she's gonna like everything that I like. That's the preoccupation of the perfect mate. This is kind of like the downside of online dating, because you don't know what that person is like in person. You have to actually meet them in person and see how you guys get along. Otherwise, it's kind of like both of you guys are feeding into your like idea or this image that you guys have of each other, right? And it might not be accurate. I hate being sick. I have the flu, and this is bad for me because I'm just like... Okay, so what is the problem with people who have these disorders? Again, how the hell... Look, honestly, no, I'm not saying, like, if somebody tries to accuse you of having a narcissistic personality disorder because you don't want to date them because you can see that they have problems, but if you yourself have the same problems, then there's really no reason for you to say no, right? Like, oh, excuse me, sorry, I burped. Yeah, I can see that you're a drug addict and you have like really strained relationships with your family members, and like you don't make that much money and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you also don't make that much money. You also have strained relationship with your family members, and you all have really bad budgeting. I mean, who else do you think was gonna be attracted to you or want to date you? Right? It's kind of like, that kind of stuff. Like, consider what you're doing in response to what that person is asking of you. Like, that doesn't make sense for you to want to be with somebody who's so perfect, but has a perfect credit score and like owns multiple properties and makes 7 figures a year if you can't even hold down one job. Right? Like, as in, like, you keep getting fired because you're stealing from work, or you're like harassing other employees and coworkers and customers. Like, that's why you're getting fired, and you want to marry this really perfect person. That's unrealistic. That's narcissistic. That's narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, so also tying in with dating, you're only gonna end up... Please don't date people outside of your comfort zone. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, if you are like unattractive physically and you're kind of like a rude person, I mean, even if you manage to find someone who's physically attractive, they're gonna be probably more offensive, or they're gonna have like some sort of like financial problems or something. Like, expect that. Those are gonna be your dating pool. Sorry. Like, you don't have to hate yourself for it. It's just kind of weird that you expect somebody who's so perfect to be with you if you're not, like, just as perfect as they are. And if you think that person is so perfect and so godly and so great and like, oh my god, I can't believe you're dating me, like, it's kind of condescending. You know, it gets to be a little mean. But yeah, do people actually care about who you date? Kind of. It affects the neighbors. And potentially the government, because what if you guys get married and have kids? That's why. Please, for the love of God, don't think that your life is over. Don't think there's no treatment for narcissistic personality disorder. Just recognize you're gonna lose a lot of friends by the time you're done treatment, because, I mean, you've already done that kind of shitty stuff to them and they're not really gonna forgive you for it. But by the time you're done treatment, you should be able to understand why that's happening and what's going on and stuff like that. So it's not that big of a surprise or deal. But like, yeah. Canada's not doing well. This country sucks. And like I think the British are losing a lot of money because they haven't been able to make money for a long time. I mean, the governing thing doesn't make that much money. I'm sorry. But otherwise, like, you know, maybe today's is Thursday. I don't know what else to say. Other than I think some people are crazy. And they have been giving me a headache. And I don't know what else to say. I'm just like, wow. I wish you would stop being a headache to everyone. I don't know what I'm just kind of focused on making sure that I'm okay and my flu's gone and all that kind of stuff, etc., etc. I've been having nightmares, but yeah. If you're dating someone and they're out of your league, it means you're forcing them. You're gonna end up in prison. So, think about that for a second.